I'll stay. Go ahead.
Welcome into Rover Sports. We just saw an incredible college football game. The Charlotte 49ers win the first of hopefully many with Coach Will Healy. Club Lit is on. Your thoughts?
It's amazing, and yeah, I wanted to adjust that light in the background, but this was an impeccable game for Charlotte and for Coach Healy. I'm so proud that he's able to win this game. I mean, Charlotte football has only been around for 5 years, and Will Healy's one of my heroes. Is just somebody who's trying to be a young coach and somebody who's trying to aspire to be like Will Healy and just live his life with such positive energy. I mean, he was at Austin Peay in the town of what city in Tennessee? Clarksville, Tennessee, and they haven't won games in maybe 2 years, and he resurrected that program, kind of like PJ Fleck did at Western Michigan. And he's a young guy, and he brings just such positive energy to the table. He tells you, even if you play ugly, he tells you to celebrate great wins. And even when you win ugly, he says to still celebrate it. And that's what college football is all about. And that's what college football is all about. And he was just able to do that tonight. And it was just such a special game. And it just almost made me emotional seeing the kids win and seeing that final drive against Duke. And for Duke, this game didn't mean much. They play in the ACC. They're a bigger school. They have a young team. And this was just a great win tonight.
Yeah, it's just for you people out there in YouTube land. I'm Sports Talk. We are Rover Sports. We're here with the coach, Spencer G. And certainly as an offensive coach, you saw that this Charlotte team just wouldn't die. They went up against an epic performance by Mateo Durant. And the opposing running back, 250 yards, was unstoppable. Set a record for the Duke Blue Devils. Played his heart out. So we always have to tip our hat to the opponent. That's so important. Yeah. But Charlotte had every opportunity to die. And their walk-on college quarterback, you got to watch back the highlights of Charlotte 49ers Duke, and just incredible. Why don't you take us through that fourth quarter?
I will, and definitely want to acknowledge some people here in the chat, like GMen409 is a really great subscriber, Chris Senor, and Niner by Nature. I really appreciate you guys popping into the stream. I'll try to answer your questions throughout. We're definitely probably going to keep it to college football, especially during this weekend. But basically, Duke, I mean, they popped off 2 big 50-yard runs, and that's what's so hard when you're at Charlotte, when you're a Conference USA group of 5 team, is that you don't have the big boys up front, and you don't have great defensive linemen that could stuff the run. And they had linebackers in the wrong spots, their safeties were in the wrong spot, and it's tough because in practice, especially in modern football, you don't want to get guys hurt. A lot of times you're not practicing tackling, you're not tackling guys full-on tackling. And that could, because you got to have energy during a game, and even with spread offenses, you got to have stamina. But at the same time, the first game, it's tough for you to be in your right spots, to be in your gaps. And the fact is, Duke was able to pop off those runs. But then you look at Charlotte, their passing offense with Chris Reynolds, who's a 5th-year senior, is 5'10", just really likable kid. And this is everything for Chris Reynolds. I mean, he's probably going to go into life after football doing something else. But the fact that this kid's just a stud quarterback at a Conference USA school, one of the coolest nights in Charlotte football history, and really for this city. I mean, you have the Hornets, you have the Panthers. This is a team that's an upstart program. This is a university that's just kind of starting out with its football team, and it's in like a great urban city like Charlotte. I mean, this is just gonna do wonders for this community. and for Coach Healy, and to have it tonight with the fans. College football and football and life in general is about people, connecting people, and tonight was about the fans. We saw that at Virginia Tech, but we saw it at Charlotte tonight with their fans going nuts, with the benches, the sideline pumping the crowd up.
But
You won't see that.
That's what you won't see that in professional sports. So if you want to watch, you'll watch the game back. You'll see the players dancing on the sideline with joy. And Will Healy is celebrate victories. Celebrate. It's called Club Lit. And you all should do that. Whenever you have a victory, don't be afraid to dance. They listen to music.
Don't be afraid to
The
celebrate.
whole stands emptied out and celebrated with the team. And Coach Will Healy came out and said his biggest sadness that he experienced in the last year was that he had 9 games were canceled because of the pandemic. And he had people that committed to his program. This is a brand new program. He just came from Austin Peay. And those players that hung in and didn't leave this Charlotte, who'd never wanted power. So if they were looking to get to the NFL, if they were ego-driven, they would have left. But this group of kids, this group in Charlotte, they showed up after 9 canceled games, and they won a dynamic, wonderful game. And that's what makes football great, and especially college sports. And being an offensive coordinator yourself, you know what it's like in the beginning that you could slice and dice the defense because they're not used to tackling.
Right.
And admittedly, the 49ers were out of position, and they got the ball. It was not a perfect game. It wasn't a clean game, according to Will Healy.
No,
but they refused to lose.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And the resilience to drive down the field like that, after that gut-wrenching run like that, it's a next play attitude, and that's what makes the game was great. The momentum changes. It just was a spectacular college football game, and we have to pay honor to that. It just is absolutely awesome. And, seeing football, seeing these fans here, I love college football because it's, like the upsets like this, but also like games that could just define a program. I mean, you talk about Healy, you also talk about Justin Fuente. Coaches, they get a win like this and their shelf life increases, and it's just amazing. Like, this win will help recruiting. It'll help the school spirit. Like, everything is connected, where as some wins in pro sports are just in a vacuum, but you could pay attention to kind of all 12 games, especially if you're just starting out a program, because you want to see the trajectory of what's going on. You want to see those benchmarks, and to win is everything, because sometimes a team will play well, Bruce, but if Charlotte lost this game to Duke, it would have been a great experience for everybody. But then you lose close and you still don't have that confidence that, like, hey, that reaffirms practice. When you win, your practice is reaffirmed.
And that brings us to the second story. The Minnesota Golden Gophers against the Ohio State Buckeyes. So if you look at the box score, you'll see that Minnesota didn't win the game. But what they did was they won the hearts of their fans, their players, and their state. They played brave against a team that was twice as big, with all grade 5 recruits. They had no business even being in the game, but they hung in and were actually winning the game in the first half. And PJ Fleck, very inspirational coach, much like Will Healy, even after the game, just paid homage to the fans, and he was rowing the boat. And John Ibrahim, again, much like Mateo Durant, had a career game running the ball and went against the big bad Buckeyes and almost pulled out a victory. And at the end, the defense just couldn't hold it. They couldn't cover at the very end. Play action pass was their downfall. The better team won, and sometimes that happens. We see that a lot, actually, in March Madness. We are Rover Sports. So that means we will rove in the same sentence from one sport to the other.
Yeah.
That's what makes us a little different.
Yeah.
You appreciate you logging in. And
Yeah.
let's talk about the fact that a team can just wear out and another team can capitalize. So what they learned a lot. So it means Minnesota has to be able to guard against the play action pass And that was their downfall. And they learned. They didn't win the game, but Minnesota packed that stadium. They supported the Golden Gophers and what's his name?
Tanner Morgan.
Tanner Morgan, who is an experienced quarterback, played very bravely against the Ohio State Buckeyes, and he deserves a big shout out from Rover Sports. Tell us about that game, Spence.
Yeah, it's just great. It's great to be talking football again. It's been a long time, and it's just spectacular. Last night to just have a full slate on of games like we talked about. Minnesota was on. Tennessee got their season started. Western Kentucky and coach, the new offensive coordinator, I know his name. He's from Houston Baptist. Zach Kittley, who coached Patrick Mahomes, who's in the quarterback room with Davis Webb and Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, Zach Kittley's going to be unbelievable. And Bailey Zappi had 7 touchdowns. So last night was it was remarkable. Joe Milton of Tennessee. We also had, what else? Arizona State went off last night. So my head was just buzzing in every single direction. Grayson McCall in Coastal Carolina, you talk about, the coach, the Chanticleers, who had an undefeated year last year. But you talk about Mo Ibrahim, 250 yards. I didn't see the report today, but I think Mo had an injury his freshman
Hopefully
year.
It's just an ankle strain.
You just pray that he's all right.
You pray that he's not
Mo's
out.
a guy that, he could even come back for another year next year. But listen, the thing is, too, is that about Minnesota, Ohio State. Stroud played really well. Olave looks like a smaller guy. I never thought he'd be a great NFL receiver, but he just has great feet along the sideline. He's like a Devontae Smith. He's going to get that comparison because his feet just move so quickly. He's so swift. I mean, Joe Klatt and Gus Johnson are the best broadcasters, and Klatt just says there's something about Olave. He compared Olave to like a Sammy Sosa or Ken Griffey swing, or like a swinging golf, like an Adam Scott that's just perfect. And that's what Olave is running routes. And you look at Ohio State, they're just so damn explosive. You look at the top 3 in the country. You have Clemson, Bama, and pretty much Ohio State, with Oklahoma and Georgia on the outs creeping in. Ohio State's athletes are just ridiculous. And you even see Minnesota, they look like a group of 5 defense yesterday, and they're in their own conference. So Ohio State loads up. Ryan Day's offense, what PJ Fleck said, is that he spreads you out. He does a tremendous job with passing concept, and he's from New Hampshire. I think Dan Mullen might be from there too, but they call it the New Hampshire Mafia because that was Chip Kelly. And Chip Kelly and Ryan Day spent time together in New Hampshire. And now Ryan Day's at Ohio State. He learned under Urban Meyer, but his passing concepts are just spectacular, and that's why you see Haskins, Fields, and now Stroud playing
Amazing.
so well.
So we are in the eve of the first Saturday, week 1, college football.
Oh yeah.
This we can see. We want to
I gotta
thank
pull up
all
the game. Gotta pull up the games. You want
We
to pull
can
up the
see
games?
all the viewers.
And Chris Senor, one of my favorites. He's a huge Chargers fan. G-Men 409. I want to thank you so much. Yes.
Justin Herbert.
Senor,
By the way,
are you a San Diego guy or an Ohio guy? Because he just said that he was a big Bowling Green guy, but Senor is a big Justin Herbert guy.
By the way,
Herbert,
It's a great story. So
Yeah.
on ESPN,
Yeah, I read that.
lead story yesterday, all about Justin Herbert. And just a beautiful story to read on this long Labor Day weekend, Chris and you just enjoy it because Justin Herbert,
Scottzilla.
and you'll go all the way back to his childhood. And you see Justin Herbert was a shy kid, but he always was a great athlete. And he always loved to win and never liked losing. And he's a guy who doesn't believe in social media. So, unfortunately, Justin Herbert normally would be lagging on, but he's not.
But unfortunately, also,
It's also great for him.
my one criticism of Justin Herbert is that he has Instagram and people running his Instagram. Get off of Instagram, man. Enjoy life. I mean, maybe pop into a YouTube video. That's what Derek Carr does. But Herbert is a 4.0 guy. His brother's at like Columbia Med School. He's a fisherman. He's just to himself. He plays board games. So that's what you'd like to see, I guess. I mean, it doesn't mean that every quarterback has to be in their dorm room playing board games. You could still go out to the bars and throw back drinks and still be cool. But the fact that Herbert, too, it talks about little anecdotes, like the internet loves, like how he takes the shopping cart, like pushes the shopping cart back into the parking lot.
He's so neat that he lives alone.
Yeah, lives in neat.
He's
He's a neat
extremely
freak.
neat
Yep.
and very organized. And when you see quarterbacks, in order for them to process information, they've got to be uncluttered. And Justin Herbert is a guy who lives a meticulous lifestyle. You never see him get in trouble. And one of the rising stars, a cannon for an arm, 6'6", and he's coming to Philadelphia to play this team, Philadelphia Eagles, in this town. And we'll be covering that for Rover
G-Man
Sports.
409, he says that Justin Herbert, yeah, exactly. He went back for senior year. The Giants were in position to get him. But at Oregon, he never won the big game. And people had question marks about him. Some teammates, there's a lot of guys at Oregon. He is a quiet guy, so people were concerned if that would translate. His skill is impeccable. His knowledge, the way he studies the game, he really cares. You got to have a guy who cares. When you have someone who cares and someone who's athletic enough to get out of the pocket, that's what it's all about. So G-Man 409, he's a Texas guy. We'll talk about some of the games tomorrow that I like because he was talking about some of the betting lines.
Yep. Tell us what your lines are.
I think
Spencer
that
G.
if I had to pick one game that I really, really like on this slate, one game that I really, really like, yeah, boy, it's tough. I'm going to go Maryland over West Virginia. I scratched that. That's one of my picks, but I'll go Clemson. I'll take their defensive line. I trust in Dabo Swinney. The line right now for Clemson, Georgia, I know it's a premier game. The line has actually gone down to 3. It's gone down to 2. So the money's coming in on Georgia. But I'm still not afraid. I'm going to take Clemson. Listen, Clemson's offense has got to do all right. I love the under in that game as well. The under in Clemson, Georgia, it looks like it's 51 and it's going down. So I love the under, especially for the first half. And I love Clemson's defensive line. Brian Breezy, guy from Maryland's the #1 defensive lineman in the country. And then they also have this guy off the edge. That's a sophomore too. These are literally 2 guys that are going to be top 10 picks on their defensive line.
By the way, there's an up-and-coming star right here from Springfield, Pennsylvania. Keith McGuire Jr.
Yes.
is a great player. He is a big recruit from Clemson. He played meaningful minutes last year, and we know his dad, Keith McGuire himself, wonderful golfer here at Rolling Green. We root for our hometown guys, and you'll watch Keith McGuire in the middle. And I think, his number was 50, might have been 51. That number sticks in my head. So watch those Clemson Tigers. And again, I know there's plenty of Georgia Bulldogs. Uncle Lou is on the stream. We thank Uncle Lou, biggest Georgia guy, Augusta, Georgia. He was nice to host us at the Masters. Hopefully next year we'll be visiting with Uncle Lou and Little Lou, who's tremendous. So we always respect the fact that people are going to root for different teams. But as far as the betting line, Clemson, a storied program, and graduating a lot of people like Trevor Lawrence. And I think that's the reason why the line is so close. But it seems like Clemson is a good pick for tomorrow.
I like DJ Ukulele, the quarterback, and I listen. And JT Daniels is a guy kind of like Sam Howell tonight that some people are really high on. Some of my friends are very high on JT Daniels being a first-round prospect. And this is a guy at USC that kind of got banged up. He got beat out by Keaton Slovis, and now he transferred out programs, and he had a really good back half of the season last year. Now, he did play easy competition. He hasn't seen a defensive line like Clemson. This reminds me when Jarrett Stidham went to Clemson in his first game. And kind of like Stidham, JT Daniels, not that mobile, smaller guy, little hands, kind of a little bit like Jared Goff. This is a guy that, again, this is going to be the defining moment of JT Daniels' career tomorrow. So it's going to be great. Lalo Paz says he's going to the Fresno State game. That is awesome. I think that they've had a long-time coach out there in Fresno. Mountain West Conference, that's going to be That's going to be fun. They're actually playing Oregon tomorrow. That's
Oregon Ducks. That should be a fun
that's
game.
pretty incredible.
You're going to see a great college football game tomorrow.
That's pretty incredible, and Jake Hayner's there. I like Arkansas tomorrow, too. That's one of my picks. I think Arkansas is a team. You have all these defensive seniors. You also have Kendall Briles, who's Art Briles' son, running that offense. So you have Trey Knox, but the best wide receiver maybe in all of football is Traylon Burks at the slot receiver position. So I love Arkansas, and I love their team. And Sam Pittman, I mean, what he did last year. Sam Pittman, O-line coach from Oklahoma, born in Oklahoma, grew up a Razorback fan, went to Georgia under Kirby Smart. I mean, Sam Pittman is absolutely living his dream job. So I can't wait for tomorrow.
So this is a team on the rise. So Arkansas, if we look at the last few decades, certainly a club, it's had a revolving door of coaches.
Yeah.
Hard to compete in the SEC. But for all the reasons outlined, tomorrow, at least early in the season, they're going to get a jump on their competition. And you're picking Clemson and the under, and you're picking Arkansas Razorbacks. And we're going to take that one to the bank.
There is no doubt about it. And I'm really excited for tomorrow. Oklahoma fans coming into the
Boomer
chat.
Sooner, everybody coming into the chat. This is college football.
Tulane.
Football's back. Fans are filling stadiums.
Tulane, Oklahoma.
We are back. And in Charlotte, Club Lit, which is the name of their
football
whole
is
club.
back.
You just watch the replay of that. Spend a minute watching the replay of Charlotte Duke, back and forth, two prize fighters. Look at the fans emptying out on the stadium. Look at everybody on the bench. Look at all the players dancing and celebrating everything that happened. And that's Will Healy. That's a young guy at the end. And I know, for instance, the love of a father and son. And Will Healy was not ashamed. His little beautiful blonde-haired son came out and he just on his back was lifting up his kid. His wife was there. This is all American. That's what America's back. That's USA, okay? Will Healy, a team that's never won a game against a Power 5, beating Duke at home, and for a full stadium, for players who could have just transferred elsewhere. It was so easy to transfer after 9 games that weren't played. But some who believed in the Charlotte 49ers, these people, they stayed with them. They stayed with Will Healy. And what a resounding victory. And how great is sports on this wonderful Friday night, the eve of week 1, college football tomorrow. Amen. We are Rover Sports.
Amen.
Signing off.
I love
and as always, Spencer, good night and good sports.
Great job.